Hey you, your Japanese doesn't suck if you don't pass the JLPT, and here's why. Hi, Frankie here to share my possibly unpopular or maybe popular opinion about why the JLPT doesn't really measure accurately your level of Japanese and why you shouldn't feel bad if you don't pass. Now, before you come for me, of course I know that there are specific reasons why people take the test. You might be applying for a certain job, or you might be trying to get into some kind of program that requires you to have a specific level of the JLPT, and it's usually N2 or N1 in those cases. So yeah, I know that there is a use for it, and it's also nice to just have some validation in your studies. It's good to have a goal, or else you might not be able to find motivation. That's the reason why I take it. It's just nice to know that the things that you're studying are actually worth something. So yeah, I get why people take the test. But in general, I don't think it's a really good way to determine how much Japanese you actually know. So this is going to be a video of me just sitting down and talking. So if you don't want to look at my face or my beautiful plant, you can just put me in the background and listen. So let's get into the specific reason why I don't think that the JLPT accurately measures your level of Japanese. So for starters, it's just a test on how to take a test. And I would like to compare this to getting my driver's license here. So when I took the driving test, it was not a test of how well you're gonna fare in the real world of driving out on the real road. It was just a test of how well you know that course specifically. So on the day that I took the test, I was second, and I was lucky enough to be sitting in the back of the car while somebody else took it first. So he was a really good driver. He nailed all the curves, all the sharp turns and everything, but he didn't follow the course exactly how you're supposed to follow the course, and he failed in the middle of the test and had to go back. Yeah, the JLPT is like that. It's not like, oh, I know a lot of Japanese, let me just take this test and see how I do. No, you have to study the specifics of that particular test and the specifics of the level that you're taking, or you could possibly fail. It's like rehearsing for a recital. It's not just a random test of skill. So number 2 kind of goes along with that. There are predetermined grammar points, vocabulary, and kanji designated for each test level. So there are 5 levels, if you don't know already. Level 5 being the easiest, and then N1 being the most difficult. But each level has their own specific set of things to study. There are a ton of apps, a ton of textbooks, a ton of videos on YouTube telling you specifically what to study for each level. And I mean, it's good marketing, honestly, because a lot of people want that. The app that I personally like best for kanji and vocabulary, JLPT specific ones, would be Sticky Study. And it's not free, but it's definitely worth it, I think, because they have everything broken up within the JLPT levels. And then there are also decks on there that are like elementary school first grade level kanji, second grade level kanji, the 500 most commonly used kanji, and all that kind of stuff. So even if you're not studying for the JLPT, I think it's a useful app to have anyway, so I would recommend that one. So anyway, if you are studying for the JLPT, of course you need to study those predetermined sets of grammar and vocabulary and all that. So if you study those and you take a bunch of practice tests, then yeah, you may likely pass. Number 3, I think the fact that it is even broken down by level kind of defeats the purpose, because there are some people who are on the cusp between different levels. Like maybe N3 is too easy for you, but N2 is too hard. And the fact that there's already all this predetermined stuff, it really defeats the purpose. It's not showing you what you know. It's only showing you what's on the test. So I think that it would be more useful. I mean, maybe it could be split up into 2, like one more geared towards beginners and then one that's a little bit more advanced, where everybody just takes the same kind of test. And then if you get a higher score, then that just means that you have more knowledge, obviously. I think that might work better. And in an ideal world, I would love for there to be some kind of speaking interview on the test too. But if you've ever taken the JLPT, you know that it already takes them forever to grade it, which I don't really get that, because it's a multiple choice test. They're just putting a Scantron in a machine to check it. So why does it take 2 months to grade them? But could you imagine how long it would take to take the test and to also grade the test if there was also a speaking section? So it's a dream, but is it likely to come true? No. Number 4, there is a reason that people can pass N2 or N1 without being able to hold a conversation. And everything is tying together here. It's because it's all predetermined. Aha! It's different for every level, but generally you only need like 50% or so to pass. So yeah, it's definitely possible to really be lacking in conversation, but be able to pass those levels. And it's also possible to get jobs without taking the JLPT. There was a coworker that I had at an Kaiwa before, and he was amazing conversationally. Anytime I heard him talking to the staff at the school, I was like, whoa, I want to be like that someday. He was really good at conversation, but he failed the N2. And that's not because he sucks at Japanese, it's just probably because he didn't prepare well for the test. But he got a job anyway. And when that company hired him, they told him that they don't even look at JLPT stuff anymore because so many people pass it and they don't have the speaking and writing skills required for the job. So yeah, so it's definitely possible to get a job without having that certification. And then, yeah, there are definitely some companies that still require it. So even if they have on the job post that N2 is required, I mean, apply anyway, because if you have the skills to back it up, even if you don't have the certification, just do it. And also I've heard that some companies, they also have their own Japanese test that they might want you to take just to double check that you have the skills required for the job. So yeah, don't worry too much about it. So my next point, am I on number 5? Maybe, is of course that there is no writing and there's no speaking. And if you want to work at a Japanese company, or if you want to go to a Japanese university and like study something in Japanese, you absolutely need those 2 skills. So the test only has listening and reading, which all 4 skills are really important, but half of them are missing. Number 6, I'm so sorry if this point breaks your heart, but I truly feel like anything less than N2 is useless. You can't really do anything with it. I mean, maybe N3, maybe, because sometimes jobs say they want conversational Japanese and N3 is kind of the conversational level, so maybe, but like N4 and N5. Before I came to Japan, I studied Japanese for a few months in New York so I could start preparing for my new life. And at that time, I took the N5 level. I don't know what it's like these days, but I took it at some university in the Bronx. But I passed N5 and I was so proud. And then when I was trying to apply for non-teaching jobs, I put N5 on my resume and I was really flexing my N5. And then I was pretty much like, I was trying to be funny. I regret slapping my phone. I'm so sorry, phone. Yeah, I was pretty much slapped in the face with the reality that N5 is useless. They pretty much, I mean, I don't know, because it was all virtual, but I'm sure they probably laughed at it like, she thinks that she's gonna get somewhere with N5. Yeah, I was proud of it at the time, but then I became kind of disappointed that it was useless. I mean, if you pass the N5, N4, N3, you should definitely be proud. You're getting somewhere with your skills. But I just don't want you to be disappointed that you can't really get a job with it. I'm sorry. And my final point is that I feel like I've wasted so much time only studying for the JLPT. I could have been studying practical things that I enjoy. Because of course you're gonna remember vocabulary and things that pertain to your interests. So yeah, I feel like I've just wasted time studying for the JLPT because a lot of that stuff is not useful in conversation, at least for N2, because it's the business level Japanese, they say. But yeah, a lot of that stuff I wouldn't use with my friends. So I feel like I've wasted a little bit of time with that, but yeah. what are some practical things to study? You may be wondering. Well, movies, music, manga, news, anything that relates to your hobbies, because that's the stuff that you're going to remember and that's the stuff that you're going to enjoy talking about. If it brings joy to your studies, then that is the best material that you can study with. So I've been reading Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, and there is hiragana in this, so it's easy to look up words that I don't know, but I've been having so much fun reading this. It does take a lot of energy to read it, but I'm having way more fun with this book than I ever did with the JLPT textbook. My theory, I've already failed the N2 twice, and I've been studying the kanji, the vocabulary, the grammar. Like, I did the same grammar book 2 times. And I don't think that the issue is my N2 knowledge. I think it's more of an issue of speed and the test taking skill. Before I take it again in July, I'm going to be really hammering down on practice tests and drills. So yeah, it's gonna take a few months, but I will let you know in the future if my theory worked. So the moral of the story, I understand why the JLPT exists and it definitely has its uses, but I just don't think that you should be bummed out if you fail, and you shouldn't feel like your Japanese sucks if you don't pass. I mean, look at me. I have failed everything except N5 and I'm doing fine. I do immigration things, city hall, I opened a bank account, sometimes cell phone stuff. I did all of my driver's license things in Japanese. I have friends that I speak to, so yeah. I mean, my Japanese might suck anyway, but it's not because I failed the JLPT. Anywho, yeah, I'm gonna take it again in July, of course. I wanna get that validation, but yeah, just, you're doing great, no matter what level you're at. Ganbare, and happy studies.